So let's see what is a firewall. Firewalls are hardware and slash are software designed to prevent unauthorized access to or from private network. They are placed at the junction or gateway between two networks, which is usually between a private network and a public network such as internet. Firewalls examine all messages entering or leaving the intranet or private network and block those that do not meet the specified security criteria. Identify all the attempts to log into the network for auditing. So, as you can see in the diagram, we have a secured private local area network on one side, and we have internet, which is public and which is not so secured on the other side. So, to protect the local area network, between internet and local area network, we can place a firewall. This is an example of where to place a firewall. So next we'll see what is a firewall architecture. So firewall architecture, there are three types: bastion host architecture, screened subnet also called as DMZ, multi-homed firewall, and DMZ. So a bastion host is a computer system designed and configured to protect network resources from attacks. So traffic entering or leaving the network passes through the firewall. It has two interfaces: a public interface directly connected to the network and a private interface connected to the intranet. So every outsider, it's kind of a reception at the office. So every outsider has to make an entry at the reception and permitted inside. So only host computer that a company allows to be addressed directly from the private from public network, designed to protect rest of the network from exposure. No critical data or application reside in bastion host. So as you can see in the diagram, we have a intranet on one side, internet on the other side. So any messages coming inside the network from the intranet will be intercepted by the firewall, which is a bastion host. In the bastion host architecture, it has two interfaces: one connecting to the internet, the other one connected to the intranet. So, so next we will see what is a screened subnet, which is also called as DMZ. The screened subnet or demilitarized zone contains hosts that offer public services. The DMZ responds to public request and has no hosts accessed by the public network. This private zone cannot be accessed by the internet user. So as you can see in the diagram, we have intranet, we have DMZ, and then intranet. So the internet, DMZ can be accessed by the public network, which is intranet. And between intranet and DMZ, we have a firewall. But from intranet, which is completely protected by the internet. So any servers or systems which has to be accessed by intranet can be placed in the DMZ, and the computer systems or any devices that need not face to the internet can be placed in the intranet. So this firewall has three interfaces here. So one interface connected to the network, the other interface to DMZ, and the third interface to the intranet. So the third type of architecture, we have multi-homed firewall. Multi-homed firewall is a node with multiple NICs that connects to two or more networks. So one firewall can be connected to multiple networks. Since it contains multiple networks, it increases the efficiency and reliability of an IP network. The multi-homed firewall has more than three interfaces that allow for further subdividing the systems based on specific security objectives of the organization. Each network among these multi-networks might be divided based on some objectives. Back-to-back firewall is one of the example. Here there will be more than one firewall as shown below, connected to one after another. Each firewall can be different from different companies to make it more effective. As you can see in the diagram, we have two firewalls. These two firewalls, can be configured differently or can be from a different companies, so that the intranet, I mean, this will be more effective, isn't it? If any messages which will be, if any malicious messages, if the first firewall is unable to detect, there are chances that the second firewall might detect it. So this architecture is more effective than the other Bastion host or the DMZ architecture. So one important thing to note here is the firewall. There can be more than two NICs as well. So this firewall can be connected to one more intranet network. So that's why it's called as multi-homed firewall. So DMZ, um, there is a separate chapter for DMZ in the Aspen book. Um, so as you can see in the diagram, so the DMZ and the intranet are independent. The internet, I mean, people can access these systems or hosts that are part of DMZ from the internet. But intranet devices are completely protected. So DMZ is a network that serves as a buffer between internal secure network and the insecure internet. It can be created using a firewall with three or more network interfaces assigned with specific roles such as internal trusted network, the DMZ network, and the external untrusted network. So firewalls can be categorized as hardware and software firewall. Hardware firewall, integral part of network setup. So hardware firewalls will be part of the network itself. So they can be built into the broadband routers or used as standalone product. Performs effectively with little or no configuration. Whereas software firewalls need a lot of configuration. Hardware firewalls works with little or no configuration. The network traffic is filtered using the packet filtering technique. The hardware firewall functions on an individual system or a particular network connected using a single interface. Examples of hardware firewalls include Cisco ASA and FortiGate. So, so Cisco ASA and FortiGate are some of the examples of hardware firewalls. So what are the advantages of hardware firewall? In terms of security, hardware firewall with its operating system is considered to reduce security risks and increase the level of security controls. Speed. Hardware firewalls initiate faster responses and enable more traffic. Then minimal interference. Since hardware firewall is separate network component, it enables better management and allows the firewall to shut down, move, or be reconfigured without much interference in the network. Disadvantages of hardware firewall: more expensive than a software firewall, difficult to implement and configure, consumes more space and involves cabling. A software firewall, similar to a filter, it sits between a regular application and the networking components of the OS. It is more useful for individual home users and it is suitable for mobile users who need digital security when working outside the corporate network. Easy to install on an individual's PC, notebook, or workgroup server. The configuration of a software firewall is simple compared to that of a hardware firewall. Software firewalls use more resources than hardware firewalls, which reduces the speed of the system. Examples of software firewalls include those produced by Norton, McAfee, Kaspersky. Advantages: less expensive than hardware firewalls, ideal for personal or home use, easier to configure and reconfigure. Disadvantages: consumes system resources, difficult to uninstall, not appropriate for environments requiring faster responses time. So, if any environment which needs a faster response time, this software firewall is not appropriate for that kind of environment.